Hey guys, Moneyman300 got another tuning video here today. This time it's the Pagani Zonda C in R Class, and this is going to be a grip build for this car. For those of you that have seen Rock King 3's video and are subscribed to him, and if you're not, go check out his channel, subscribe to him, great videos. I'm sure you already are, but anyway, he did a Pagani Zonda. His is a little bit more of a speed build. This one's a little bit more of a grip build, so it's going to be different than what he did. I tuned this specifically for the Alps and Alps Stadtplatz. This is a very dominant car on the Alps Stadtplatz course in R Class, but it'll do well on any of the Alps and any other kind of momentum-based tracks, like probably the Pragues and things like that. It's going to do well at things that have really sharp turns. It may not do quite as well. But it's going to do well on these on the Alps and other what I call momentum-based tracks. But anyway, the arrival I have here is I just grabbed 500th place. So you know, no particular reason. Just grab that and see if we can't run that down pretty quickly and show how competitive this car can be. I think it's going to be a great leaderboard car as well as a good lobby car. So let's resume this and see what we can do here. Set up for this first. It is oversteer tuned, so that was not a particularly good first turn. Have to pick it up a little bit here in the back half of this one. So yeah, so as I mentioned, it's oversteer tuned. I'm not running any assists on this right now. You could, if you wanted to, drop that traction control on here, but it's not too bad to control. Boy, that guy took a bad angle into that turn. So far, so good here. Just kind of take it easy through here. Don't hit that wall. All right, we're good there. All right, let's finish this thing up. Let's do this in our second lap. I have had some problems through this part of the course right here, hitting the wall. Ooh, and I tried to do it again. So not great there, but I think we're going to beat our rival on the first lap, which is awesome. That just shows you, man, it's going to be a pretty competitive car. We'll buzz through the finish line here and see what we got there. So we finished with 119.7. Not great. You know, there's more there. I mean, that wasn't a great lap. I blew up the first turn and was a little slow even in the second one. Dove a little bit late. Pretty good end of the lap that I had there. Had to let up just a touch in a couple places where I'd rather not, but overall pretty good. Very, like I said, very competitive car. I'm gonna finish this out. Ooh, come on, Drivetrain, get off the wall! You're messing up my paint job. Let's see what we got here. See what place that puts us in. I'm guessing, man, 350th maybe, something like that. I mean, not great. But that was, like I said, that was my second lap. I think that, you know, a few more laps in, we're putting this in the top 100 range. Without too much of a problem. I just want to spend a bunch of time there doing that. And we'll go look at the build and tune. It's a sweet looking car. I love that quad exhaust in the back of that thing. That's pretty cool. So see what we got there. Yeah, I like the design. It's just red. 308th. Hey, pretty good guess. I said 350th. Look at Rock King up there in 118th. I got to get on that. So I think I can beat that time though. But anyway, let's go take a look at let's go head over to the garage, take a look at the build and tune. Alright, so here we are over in the garage. Let's hop in and get into the parts here. So first thing, as always, engine conversions, and I got nothing. Couldn't do the aspiration conversion here unless I was going for more of a speed build. So we are at a this is a grip build. As I mentioned, I was just kind of looking at my power and torque ranges. You're going to want to run this high, super high RPMs. You can see where it tops out there at about, what is that, about 8,000 is where you're going to get your peak horsepower. So run it up in those high RPMs. But there are actually no engine parts at all. I'll go over here to the engine area and show you the one engine part you can put on this one. And that's this one. And it actually would be doable. It's 3 different. And I think I could almost get 3 horsepower. And I'm not sure why I didn't do this. And if you're building this is probably a good idea. You can actually, I think, get 3 PI back out of changing the wheels and then give yourself an additional 7 horsepower and use the rest of the tune. This is probably even going to be better. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to go ahead and do that as we go through here. So I'm going to do this on the fly real quick, because I should have went back and checked this after the fact, and I didn't. So I'm going to throw that on there. We're at 903 right now, and when I get over to the tires section, or wheels, we'll grab some wheels there. But anyway, let's move over to platform and handling. We got race everything straight across. We're going for light. I do have the roll cage on there, and I did the roll cage just because I got the extra 1 PI out of it. And you generally get a little bit of stability, so I did go with that, and it wasn't too bad on the weight. I think an extra 40 pounds. So everything race in the platform and handling. Come over here to the drivetrain area, and we're going to have the sport transmission. So there wasn't really any penalty to go to the sport transmission. To get up there one more, we would have had to have gone, spent a couple extra PI, and it's something you could play around with potentially. Instead of putting the extra horsepower on there, maybe you'd rather have the race transmission and have adjustable individual gears. That's a personal preference there. The next thing we have, as always, is the race differential. So let's move on over to the tires and rims. Tires, we're going to have race compound. As I mentioned, this is a grip build. If you wanted to go ahead and try to get the turbo on there, you're probably looking at this here. So you that 20 PI, and you can get that turbo on there, get the car a little faster. But I elected to go with the race for a full grip build on this. And like I said, I'm able to drive this with no assists, so it worked out well. We're gonna also have full tire width on these, and this is another place you could potentially drop this down. I wouldn't recommend that. I like the full tire width on this. I think it handles really well, and then full tire width in the rear as well. Hopping over to the wheels, and this is what I was talking about. I actually started out, put the lightest wheels on here so that I could drop down later, and then didn't come back and do it. So if I come across here, oh, I'm hoping I could do that. Might not actually be true. I noticed it when I did the wheels first. It was actually a 3 PI difference, but evidently when you get the weight out of it and do some other things, it's not. We'll go over here and I'll look at one other thing that I know are the heaviest wheels in the game. We come over here, we still can only get to 902, so I'd actually have to drop the tires down, and I don't want to do that. So what I'm gonna do is real quick just fix this before I forget. We're gonna take this back off. So what you would have to do if you do this is drop your tire width down, and you can get that extra 7 horsepower. I honestly don't think it's worth it for 7 horsepower, not for the type of car, not for a grip build like this. So we're gonna go back to here and do that, and we'll come back and I'll show you which wheels we have. These are actually light wheels, the lightest ones I could find. These are the Compomotive CXR. They kind of look cool on here too, so I like those wheels. So we went with those. I did not change this at all. This does make the PI go up, so I did not do that. You could, I guess if you really wanted to, you could come in here, and I could change the rear one, but I don't really want to just change that, and change those, and then potentially just drop down on wheels. But I don't really see any advantage to doing that with this car. I think it's fine at stock. So that's the tires and rims. Aero. There's only one aero option on this. It already comes with an adjustable rear aero by default, so you just throw the adjustable front bumper on there. Puts a lot of PI in there, but you're gonna want that. So that's all good right there. And that is all of our parts right there. So let's hop in and take a look at the tune itself. So first thing, tire pressure, 28 in the front, 28.5 in the rear, which for a rear wheel drive, this is a little different. Normally you're gonna have that pressure a little lower in the rear, but when I looked at the tire pressure and the temperature after a few laps, there was quite a bit of difference between the front and the rear, so I needed to bump the rear up a little bit to get that temperature up higher and the tire pressure so that they were at least even between the front and the rear. So 28.5 there. Gearing is close to default. I bumped it up a little bit to 350. You don't want to go any higher than this. As a matter of fact, you could even come down just a touch if you wanted to here. You're pretty much topping out at the bottom of the hill, and if you're going to run this on another track that might have a little bit longer straightaway, you may need to drop this final drive just a little bit more. We go into alignment. Again, we're going to have a fair amount of camber here, like most of my builds. We're at -2.7, -2.4, and the others are default. That -0.2 in the rear is default, and I did not touch the caster angle. I usually adjust the camber first and then make sure that things are stable. If I feel any instability, I will bump up that caster angle, start to 5.5, maybe 6.0. It felt good. Sometimes I'll even drop it down to see if I can run it lower. I didn't do that. That's probably something I could still test and try, but that's the alignment. Over to the roll bars. So what you're going to see in here is an oversteer tuned build, meaning everything in the front is softer than the rear. I really had, out of the box or with my base tune on there, the thing really understeered and I struggled, so I had to oversteer tune it, and the back end was still pretty stable doing this. It will get, you got to use decent throttle control if you're not using traction control here, because the back end can get away from you if you're jamming on it mid-turn or coming out of the turn. But if you progressively throttle up coming out, you'll have no problem controlling this car. But anyway, 7.02 and 25.25 on those roll bars. And again, you'll see oversteer tuned here with 500.7 and 641.2 on the springs. Ride height at default. You can play around with that, maybe drop it down, move it up, whatever you feel. It was pretty stable, so I didn't really mess with it. Potentially what you would want to do is take it out, see if it's still stable. If it is, good. The lower the better. The next thing we have is our dampening. Again, our front is going to be softer than the rear, and we have 9.6 and 10.9 for the rebound, and 3.0 and 3.8 for our bump stiffness. Aero is default in the middle. I actually did run this up a little higher, and I did not like it. It did not seem to do anything for me in the turning, and it just made me slower. I did not try taking any out of it, so I just left it in the middle because it felt good. Brake pressure is the other way from what I would normally do, 52, 53, and I think this has to do with a more of a mid-engine setup. At 48, the brakes feel really good on this at this, though. You might really consider, even if you use a different pressure normally, this felt good, felt really balanced. I was not breaking loose at all with the brakes on any of my test drives, so I loved this this balance with this setup. And then my differential. This is what I started with. I didn't even touch it at all, so it felt good. So 30% acceleration, 12% deceleration, and that's everything on the tune here. So give it a try. Come in here, put in the numbers yourself. You can also have the tune available under my gamertag Moneyman300. You can download it if you don't want to put in all the numbers and mess with it yourself. And then yeah, it should be a good online car. Should be a good leader. I know it'll be a good leaderboard car. And also check out Rock King's build. He has a little different variation of this. It's interesting to see the differences. His is going to be a little bit more of a speed build. Going to be able to run on some tracks, maybe like Road Atlanta. I think that's where he shows it on there. But anyway, I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.